Welcome to another episode of Rim Shots with Sean on the Rock Rage Radio Network, brought to you by Barstools and Bandtalk. We have a treat. This guy, when I was texting him the other day, he made a joke about him no longer being relevant, which I strongly disagree with. But you're going to know him, the one, the only Mr. Paul DeLong. How you doing, sir?
I'm very good, sir. Very good. Thank you.
So, I know a few people that follow you in Toronto. You're still very active. You're teaching. You're doing a lot of things. Why don't you tell us what you've been up to for the last while?
Well, I changed my socks this morning, which was pretty good. No, actually, I'm not teaching anymore at all. Although I could be talked into it with somebody who was interested. But okay, so I'm the tribute king. So I play in a Chicago tribute called Brass Transit, and we tour all over the U.S. And actually, we're coming out to Halifax. Where are you?
In Halifax, my friend.
Yeah, I'll be in Halifax for 3 days. We're playing with the symphony there, February 28th, March 1st, and then a matinee on March 2nd. So you got to come on down. But anyway,
so that's like in a month's time.
Yeah.
Wow, that's very cool. Have you played that room before?
Yes, Rebecca Cohen, and many times with Kim and a lot of different things. So I do this Brass Transit thing, and then I do a thing called Genes and Classics, and I played at Rebecca Cohen with them, and that is a rock band with symphony always, and we do like 40 different shows. So they were just there doing the Who and Led Zeppelin. There's a core of singers and drummers and depending on who's doing what. So I do that all over the U.S. with the various symphonies as well. What else do I do? I play with Lighthouse now, and which is kind of cool because I was a big fan when I was a kid. What else? A guy named David Barrett, guitar player. I play with him, and that's like a trio sort of fusion-y stuff. It's really cool. And then I have my own band called One Word, and we play all Mahavishnu Orchestra and Tony Williams Lifetime and the music I really love to play. So that's enough. I think that keeps me pretty busy. I do some recording at home too.
Well, and I was gonna say, I mean, the big thing that everybody talks about now is how messed up the music business is, and it's tough. But it sounds to me like you're making a good, honest living, pounding her out there.
Yeah, I forgot Pretzel Logic. It's a Steely Dan tribute I've been doing for 20 years. It's really great. I make my living playing old music for old people who love it, and I love it. I love all the music I play. I don't do anything I don't like anymore because who wants to do that? I did some of that before, but So I got my own little bubble going, and it's fine. I really like it. And the David Barrett group, that's original music, and I contribute to that and stuff, the arrangements and things. But basically everything else, I'm playing vintage music, but I could apologize for it, but I love it. I have a good time,
I don't think you need to apologize because in this day and age, right? I mean, again, it's the business is so messed up that if you can make a living by doing whatever, I don't know, I think you should just do it. And I think it's fantastic that you're able to do that because some people aren't in the same boat.
Yeah, no, I'm very fortunate. And all this stuff sort of just happened. And it's great. And I've been through, since leaving Kim Mitchell, I've been through a lot of different things and some great jazz fusion kind of things. And then I did 10 years of theater doing various shows in Toronto, and then went on the road doing some of them too. And so I did 10 years of that, and then teaching. I taught at Humber for 33 years.
Wow.
So it all adds up to a living, and most of it's been pretty great, so I can't really complain.
So I made note. You mentioned all that stuff. You mentioned Kim Mitchell twice, which is and not that there's anything salacious or anything there, but I mean, do you get tired of maybe talking? Like I assume when you were doing a lot of these interviews, people would load up on that stuff and kind of maybe avoid or not talk about your other parts of your career. And I know some people who know you and they talk about how you do the jazz and you do the fusion, you do some other things, probably more so than the rock or what you're known for. Do you get tired of talking about that, or is it just part of your deal?
No, I mean, I guess it's what I'm still mostly known for, and so I don't mind talking about it, you know. But
Well, because
um,
let's call it what it is. In particular, that first album. I mean, I would say people, you got to put that up there with a classic Canadian record of all time that you played on.
yeah, I think it's pretty good. Um, it comes charging out of the gate with Kids in Action, and it's pretty. I think it's pretty cool. That was actually going to be a whole album, and I still have the tracks, the rest of the tracks that were on that album. I have files of that. But Anthem, in their infinite wisdom, said, "Well, we think we'll just release an EP for now." But there were some other good tracks going on there. But yeah, that was a pretty cool album to start with, for sure.
I when you guys toured with that, and I think you played Halifax and Haywire opened for you guys.
Yeah, that would have been the Metro Center, maybe.
That's 100% correct. You had that big yellow drum kit. My
Yep.
memory's really good. And one of the things that I remember was that, I mean, obviously what you played in the album was wicked, but I remember live, you actually busted out a lot more than I was like, wow, this guy's really amazing. And I wasn't even really playing myself at that long at that point, but I was like, you were standing on the stage. Um, how do you approach, I guess, recording versus live? Is there a way that you approach it? Or you just do what you do and it just happens?
Well, I mean, depends on the music, but I mean, usually recording is a bit more controlled,
Right.
and with a click and just a bit more, maybe a little less explosive. Although Kim, when we started, uh, when I first started playing with him, I would ask him, "What do you want me to play?" And he would say, "Just be intense." So I like that,
There you go.
and so he gave me free reign in the beginning. Anyway, that changed later, but so I mean, and we did some of that with a click. Not that album. No, wait, no, we didn't do that album at all with a click. That was all just live off the floor. We used to click sometimes on the next couple albums, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, there's some amount of control, but still, I I try and get a vibe going and express something and emote. That's the word, emote,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Yeah. So yeah, there's not much live, maybe a bit more, but I don't know. I kind of like to go for it in the studio as well. So
So guys of your style that are, have that, I'll call it a well-rounded sort of jazz fusion background that end up playing rock tend to typically, and I don't know if it's, I'll take Steve Smith from Journey as an example, where he kind of wants to go back to the Vital Information stuff, and I don't think he'd ever say he was bored, but maybe he wanted to get back to the more, I guess, complicated types thing. Is that pretty much what happened with you when you left Kim Mitchell?
yeah, I mean, I well, Kim got hired a producer who said that I was a jazz drummer, not a rock drummer. So that led to my demise with the Kim Mitchell band. But so after that, I went, well, right, okay, I'm not going to play any more rock music then. So I set about trying to seek out some fusion type gigs, and they fell into my lap. One being David Blaymeyers, who used to sing with Pat Metheny. Pat Metheny's, geez, I sound like Jeff Beccaro in that video where he keeps burping. We're going to do a 16th on roof now. Anyway, huge fan of Jeff, don't get me wrong. So yeah, so I did this album with Dave Blaymeyers when we played some festivals and stuff, and then this band Carlos Lopez Earl Seymour Group, which was another jazz sort of thing. So I found myself doing a lot more of that, and with a few other people too, and all of a sudden my rock thing went out the window. But then later I came back and I was playing with Larry Gowan and stuff, and and some of those shows I was doing like Tommy and Rent, and so that required some rocking out, But what was the question?
Well, I mean, I just it was you kind of nailed it. I kind of said maybe you were getting a little bored with the rock.
Oh yeah.
You were labeled as a jazz guy and were maybe assly, which is unfortunate because I mean, imagine being the producer going, yeah, I was the guy that get rid of Paul DeLong from Kim. What a legacy to have.
Well, I don't know, but yeah, the thing is, I don't look down on rock music or anything, but I just have an affinity for music that I don't know, challenges me, and I like where it goes, and there's room to react to other players in solos and stuff, and it's just a bit freer, and I like playing. That's why I have this band playing Mahavishnu stuff, because that was my favorite stuff, you know. And it's a real challenge. It pushes me to the limits of my abilities, that's for sure. And I like that. I like being challenged. I don't like feeling complacent or, you know. I never phoned it in, but I mean, sometimes you could, if you play a bit too much 2 and 4, you just want to break out now and then, you know, and do something else.
Yeah. So when we were texting, you told me you live in the east end of Toronto, and I lived in the east end of Toronto, so I know what a lot of those houses can be like, and they're close together. And you mentioned you have a studio. So I mean, how much do you play versus practice? What do you do to kind of not have your neighbors want to kill you? Because like I remember how close those houses were together and stuff, right?
Well, you know, it's funny. I've lived here 18 years, and it's a little old bungalow, but it's a double brick bungalow, and I stuffed the windows in the basement. I stuffed with 8 inches of foam rubber,
nice.
And I've never had a complaint. And I have band rehearsals here. I record down there and thrash away for hours, and I practice, and never had a complaint. And I just got lucky, I think. But the houses are close together, but it's great, you know.
Well, I remember. I can't remember Mike's last name. You might know him. He owns the PA company. He used to play with Corey Hart. He lived kind of in the East End too. And I remember hanging out with him one time. And he had to use an electric kit because his neighbors were complaining so much. This would have been back in '92 or '93 when electric kits were great. So it's good that your neighbors don't complain, because that can be problematic.
Oh yeah, I remember when I first moved in here, I used to play this band called The Code. That's another fusion thing I did, which was a really great fusion band in the tradition of Scott Henderson, Alan Holdsworth kind of thing. And we were having a rehearsal here, and unbeknownst to me, the lady next door, she had a young baby, and she had all her friends who had young babies over, and there's in the backyard. They're all sitting in the backyard with their babies. And so we're thrashing away, not knowing anybody's out there. So then I open the door because we're going to take a little break, and I go out, and these 4 women are sitting there, and I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry." It's terrible. And they went, "Oh no, we're enjoying it." So go figure. I just got lucky. That's all.
That's good. Of all the different things that you've done, is there a couple of what we call Paul DeLong signature things that you say, okay, these are me, that, you know, if somebody's looking for my legacy, here's a handful of things I would refer them to? Or do you have any of those?
Yeah, like well, All We Are, for sure. That people seem to like that one. I like that one. A couple of the other Kim Mitchell tunes, like Kids in Action. I'm trying to think of what else as far as Kim goes.
Well, and then All We Are is interesting, Paul, because that's one of those things where a lot of people don't pick up, you know, that kind of that slow Rosanna type shuffle that's going on, right? Like they don't, because sometimes you can't really hear it depending upon what you're listening on.
Yeah. I mean, you need to hear the ghost notes and stuff, but I mean, that's really stolen from Open Arms by Journey. Very similar kind of vibe to it, and
interesting.
But I love playing that tune, and yeah, it's cool. I've actually played with Kim a couple of years ago. Well, before COVID, I was out east. Actually, we played in Halifax, I think, or outdoor festival or something, and then I did a Kitchener Blues Festival with them too. So I got to play those tunes again, which was pretty cool. Now, okay, so the other thing is the David Blameyer's group album. That whole album I'm pretty proud of. I think it's really good, and I like to be known for it. The first Code album, The Code, that's pretty good, and the second one. I don't know what else. I could probably think of stuff after we stop talking, but I can't.
Well, it's a nice problem to have when you can't go. You go, I can't really think of it because there's been so much, you know.
Well, there hasn't really been that much, and it's very hard for me to say that something I did is actually good, because I just my own worst critic. But I can genuinely say certain things that I think, that's, if somebody thinks that's my legacy, and they listen to it and they think it's good. That's good, you know.
Something that we talk about quite a bit. I had a gentleman that is deep in the country world the other night, and that's scheduling and treating it like a business. Do you handle your own schedule, or do you have help with that? Because it sounds like you're super busy, and that the opportunity to double and book yourself could be very ripe with opportunity. So, do you handle that yourself?
Yeah, I do, and I mess up at least once or twice a year, and double book myself, and I just really always on the case with my calendar, and enter gigs right away, and I just keep so yeah, but I still mess up now and then, and yeah, it kind of, it's hard. The juggling makes me a little crazy, to tell you the truth. It's particularly if you get these situations where you don't work for 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden you got calls for 3 gigs on one day or one night, and that happens, which annoys me, but yeah, no, I do it all myself. Maybe I should hire someone. I don't know.
Well, I mean, if it's two or three times a year, that's not too bad. I mean, I think that's pretty darn good. As somebody that's playing as much as you do, if somebody was to want to get into that, I guess the first question I'm asking, do you think it's because of reputation and your name and people know you of that, or is it networking, or how is it that you get so many calls, and what advice would you give to people that are kind of looking to get into that loop?
Well, first of all, I don't get a lot of calls. I consider that I'm on the periphery of the current music scene totally. But back in the day, like, I just found that once I had a good gig, I got the gig with Dominic Triano, which I don't know if you've heard of him, but he was a great guitar player in Toronto, and his band, everybody wanted to play in his band, and it was a really cool band. And so I auditioned for it a few times, and I sucked, and because I was so nervous. But then one day he just phoned me up. Well, no, he came to my door, and I opened the door. He said, "You got the gig, whether you like it or not." So I was 24 at the time, and then also I went in this band. All of a sudden, now I'm recording for Capitol Records, a big deal for the first time, and so. Okay, so I did that gig for 3 years. One of the gigs we played was opening for Max Webster. So Kim Mitchell sang at the side of the stage, watching me and go, "Oh, I like that drummer." So then when Max Webster broke up, he calls me and says, "Do you want to do something?" I said, "Great, okay." And it's been like that ever since. Like, one thing leads to another. And then the more people see you, the more reputation you get as maybe someone who could do a good job. Now, when the theater thing, my friend Mark Kelso, incredible drummer, he was doing Tommy, and I said I had eyes to get into that scene. He said, "Well, you want to sub for me?" And I said, "Sure." And he said, "But you got one chance to get it right, and if you mess up, you're done in the theater business." So I got it right. I nailed it the first time, and so then that led to subbing for him on Joseph, and I nailed that, and then. Brian Barlow, subbing for him on Rent, and then that turned into Lion King, and then so like you get a reputation that you can handle the job and do a good job and show up on time, and yeah, so that's how it's worked for me. I never did any networking. I never really chased after anything. It just came to me, just one after another, one step at a time, and I think so. That's how that worked back then. Now nowadays, I imagine. I mean, there's maybe not as much work opportunity, but you still, if you establish yourself as a guy who gets the job done, you can read charts, your drums sound good, you show up on time, you're not drunk, you got a good attitude, you're not an idiot, you're the kind of person people can get along with, and you don't make waves, and you don't make a scene at a gig, and all those things. People, it adds up, and you get a good reputation, and the work starts to come in, so that's what I know.
On all this stuff, do you do your own teching, or do you have a tech that you
God, I wish I did. Like back when I was with Kim, I had my own drum tech, and he set up my drums, tuned them, polished the cymbals every night, and he set up a practice set in whatever arena we were in. I had a little practice set I carried around. He set it up found a room for me so I could practice before the gig. Wow. If I wanted to. And now, 40 years later, I'm And it kills me to move my own stuff. Like I hate it a lot, and I don't carry around a whole huge kit. But yeah, no, I hate that. I really wish I had someone, but
Well, and one of the things too, and I certainly find it is places to warm up are few and far between now. Like some
yeah,
places don't even have dressing rooms anymore.
yeah. No, that was. I remember when we were on the road with Kim opening for Brian Adams. Pat Stewart, he had a kit in a room, and that gave me the idea to get that happening. And the guy that worked for me he didn't mind. So it was just great just to be able to play some drums like an hour before you go on stage and feel really warmed up, as opposed to a practice pad or something. So yeah, that was great.
Absolutely. And you said you got out of the teaching realm. Was that just simply because you just get too busy with other things?
No, some stuff went down at Humber College where I taught, where a new administration came in and they didn't have a clue about music. Like they weren't musicians, and they didn't have a clue about music and how it works. And I mean, Humber was a well-oiled machine, and it was just great for so many years, and everything took care of itself basically. But all of a sudden, all these changes were like destroying it, and about 15 people quit. And then, okay, so yeah, so right before COVID, all this started bubbling under, and then during COVID, I was doing Zoom lessons for like a year and a half, and then this administration came into full fruition, and then I went, nah, I can't do this, so I just quit. I think 2021, the fall of 2021. But like I said, 15 other teachers quit, and it just kind of. I mean, maybe I have a hard time with change and modernizing things and fixing something that isn't broken. Call it death by improvement. And so it's a shame because I'm 72 now, and I wanted to maybe keep teaching till I was 75 or something like that. But I just went now. So I thought, well, I'll teach at home. And then I was home, and I went, you know what? I don't want to teach anymore.
Yep.
And I've just done enough of it. But on Facebook, I have my drum page, and every once in a while, I put up an idea, with a video and everything, and a transcription, because I still like teaching. So I do that, and that's sort of how I get my jollies in that department. But,
Well, that's good, and I mean, it's amazing that at 72 years young, you're still as busy as you are, and you're still doing all this stuff. And I am going to do my best because I do believe I'm off right around that time, so I'm going to get out and hopefully check that out for sure.
Oh yeah, we'll talk, and yeah, I can't promise you comps, but I'll see what I can do. And
Well, I work with somebody that gets a pull over there, so I'll see what I can
oh,
do.
excellent. Okay,
I don't
yeah,
often make those calls. I'm not that guy, but what the heck, I'll give her a
sure,
shot.
yeah, and yeah, we can go have a drink after, whatever. It'll be a beautiful
On me,
thing.
my friend. I want to
Excellent.
thank you for doing this. It was a pleasure to finally meet you. You've been obviously somebody I grew up listening to, and uh, probably owe you. I do owe you a drink or two after probably some of the licks that I stole.
Excellent, excellent.
Yeah,
Well, they were probably stolen from someone else, so it's a beautiful thing. Pass them along.
it is. Pay it forward. Well, thank you so much, Mr.
Thank
Paul
you.
DeLong. Peace.
That was great, man. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.